Did you watch the Oscars last night? They were last night. Oh man, you missed it again. Harrison Ford is 83 years old now, and his amazing career might be ending in a really sad way. His wife, Callista, was seen leaving their house with packed bags last week. Ford recently spent weeks getting ready for a role by talking to Michael J. Fox about what it's like to live with Parkinson's disease. But people close to them say this wasn't just about acting. Ford has been having weird moments. He's forgetting his lines. His hands shake when he does interviews. Callista has been his support system for over 20 years, but now she's facing really tough decisions. What she told her close friends will make you really sad. Harrison Ford was born on July 13, 1942, in a Chicago hospital while World War II was still going on. His dad, John William Ford, who liked calling himself Christopher, had tried to become an actor but gave up and got a job in advertising when he needed money. His mom, Dorothy, had also worked as an actress on the radio, but her career never really took off either. They came from different backgrounds. His dad was Irish Catholic and his mom was Russian Jewish, but they didn't force religion on their kids. Ford said later that they were raised more as open-minded people than anything else. By 1945, the family had another son, Terence, and they were struggling to pay their bills. Harrison watched his father come home from work, complaining a lot about his bosses. Those angry dinner conversations stayed with him. He decided really early that he never wanted to work in an office. He wanted something different, something with freedom. When he started school in the 1950s, he didn't do well at all. Teachers said he was lazy, but the real problem was that he had dyslexia that nobody knew about. Reading was hard. Writing was hard. Everything at school felt like a battle. He was smart, but nobody could tell. Other kids bullied him, thinking he was just awkward or nerdy. Ford kept to himself. He started spending time with model trains and technical gadgets. He found peace in building things with his hands. The one place he felt noticed was at the school's radio station. He became the first voice ever played there and even worked as a sports announcer during his last year. But the loneliness never went away. He once seriously thought about becoming a forest ranger or a coal miner. Any job where he didn't have to be around people. That's how badly school had hurt him. In 1960, he went to Ripon College in Wisconsin. He studied philosophy and joined a fraternity. But school didn't get any better there either. For 3 years, he stayed away from anything that involved performing or standing in front of people. But in 1964, during his last few months at Ripon, he made a desperate choice. He signed up for a drama class, not because he loved acting, but because he wanted to stop being scared of talking in public. That choice changed his whole life. Acting sparked something inside him. He suddenly felt like he'd found something that made sense. But instead of helping his grades, it distracted him. He spent more time in the theater than in class. Then, just days before graduation, he got caught cheating on a paper and got kicked out. His parents were shocked, but Harrison didn't feel ashamed. He felt free. Right after that, he joined a summer theater group called the Belfry Players. That was in 1964. The same year everything would start to change. But not everything went smoothly. Back when he was just 10 years old in 1952, he had almost drowned in a swimming accident. He never talked much about it, but that fear stayed with him. For years, he refused to do swimming scenes in movies. He even learned to fly planes and helicopters before ever feeling okay in water. But one day, during the filming of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he actually taught his young co-star how to swim. He didn't want anyone else to feel the fear he had lived with for so long. By the early 1960s, he was already working any job he could find to help support his family. He cooked on a yacht. He worked as a bellhop. When he moved to Los Angeles in 1964, he got a tiny part in a movie called Dead Heat on America. It was a small role, but he had actually worked as a real bellhop before, so it felt strangely like things had come full circle. In one argument with a producer, Ford said something bold. If Tony Curtis could make delivering groceries look like acting, then he could make working as a bellhop look like a performance. That confidence would one day make him a star. That same year, in June 1964, Ford married Mary Marquardt, a woman he had met in college. She believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. Even after a terrible performance in a college play where he froze on stage, she kept pushing him to keep going. They had no money, no jobs, and no honeymoon. They packed their bags and drove to Los Angeles with just $300. Mary worked multiple jobs to keep them going while Ford auditioned, failed, and tried again. He got a contract with Columbia Pictures in 1964 that paid $150 a week. It sounded like a dream, but it quickly became a nightmare. Studio bosses told him he'd never make it. They said his name was too fancy, his acting too stiff, and his presence too boring. One even told him to cut his hair like Elvis and change his entire look. He refused. After just 18 months, they dropped him. He was crushed. By 1970, he had stopped trying to act full-time. He taught himself carpentry using books from the library. He built a recording studio for a Brazilian musician named Sergio Mendes, even though he had no idea how to do it. He stood on the roof with a carpentry book in his hand, figuring it out as he went. But Mendes liked his attitude and told other people about him. Soon Ford was getting carpentry jobs with big names: Francis Ford Coppola, Joan Didion, Richard Dreyfuss. These jobs kept his family alive. In September 1967, his first son, Benjamin, was born, but they were still broke. Ford wasn't getting acting jobs. He auditioned for The Graduate and got rejected. He worked 12-hour days building furniture and fixing homes. Mary worked too. Their small apartment was filled with worry. Ford said later that becoming a father changed everything. Now, every rejection hurt more because it wasn't just his dream anymore. His whole family was depending on it. Then, in 1973, he got a small role in American Graffiti for just $500. It almost fell through over a silly complaint. He was accused of eating too much from the free food table on set, but that little film became a hit. Ford had actually asked for $15 more per week during filming just to make up for the carpentry money he was losing. That bold request stuck in George Lucas's mind. Later in 1975, Ford was working at Coppola's studio building cabinets. Lucas was holding auditions for a space movie called Star Wars and needed someone to read lines with the actors. Coppola suggested Ford. Lucas remembered him from before. That casual reading session led to Ford being cast as Han Solo. His carpentry was still part of his life. He built cabinets for producers, stayed close to writers like Joan Didion, and even worked for the producer of The Doors. His reputation was all about showing up on time, doing the work right, and not complaining. It made people trust him. That trust got him in the door again and again. But just as his career was taking off, his personal life fell apart. He had met screenwriter Melissa Matheson on the set of Apocalypse. Now in 1976, while still married to Mary, rumors started spreading. In 1979, he and Mary divorced. It wasn't pretty. Years later, his divorce from Melissa in 2004 became one of the most expensive in Hollywood, costing between $85 million and $118 million since there was no prenup. He had once auditioned for The Godfather in 1971, but didn't get the part. It crushed him at the time, but in the end, it pushed him toward George Lucas and Star Wars, which changed his life forever. Even after becoming a star, Ford kept building things. Photos from 1984 show him working in his Beverly Hills workshop. He once said that an architect he worked with used to tell him, "No limit for better." That stuck with him. He applied it to his acting, to every role, every scene, every moment. He wanted to make it better. Harrison Ford never meant to become Han Solo. In 1977, he was only hired to help other actors read lines during Star Wars auditions. He wasn't even trying out for a part, but something happened when he read the lines. George Lucas saw something special in him. He gave Ford the role of Han Solo, and that decision changed everything. Star Wars became a huge hit around the world and turned Ford into a superstar overnight. One of the most unforgettable moments in Star Wars history came from Ford's own mind. In The Empire Strikes Back, when Princess Leia says, "I love you," the script had Han Solo replying, "I love you, too." But Ford didn't think that felt right. In the middle of filming, he just said, "I know." That short line became one of the most famous in movie history. It was bold, it was cool, and it came from Harrison Ford himself. But not everything behind the scenes was fun. During the 1976 filming, Ford had a secret affair with Carrie Fisher. She was only 19, he was 33, and married with 2 kids. It started at George Lucas's birthday party, when Ford helped Fisher get away from some crew members who were pressuring her to drink. They sat in his car. That's where they kissed for the first time. During filming, they were Han and Leia in front of the camera, and Carrie and Harrison behind the scenes. The affair stayed hidden for nearly 40 years, until Fisher revealed it in her 2016 book. Ford never really talked about it. He said he knew she was going to write about it. but he didn't read the book. After Star Wars made him famous, Ford jumped into action movies right